Hello. Ever had a flat tyre when out on the trail? No problem if you're on a 100 kilogram enduro bike, not so easy if it's an adventure bike with no centre stand. Getting one of those off the ground to remove the wheels safely and securely can take more time and effort than the entire process of sorting out the puncture. Since the last time this happened to me, I've been contemplating what I could carry, especially on solo, off-piste moto camping trips, to get myself out of a similar predicament. Whatever the solution, it had to be compact, extremely lightweight and usable when alone out in the boondocks in pretty much any conditions. That ruled out both an MX-type bike lift or beer crate, collapsible or otherwise, on size and weight grounds. The obvious answer would be a centre stand, but that's also a non-starter for the serious off-road rider because, for one thing, they're stupid heavy. For another, the last thing you want when the going gets fast or gnarly is an undercarriage jumping up and down and potentially catching unseen terrors that may lurk below. And finally, centre stands, at least on the KTM, occupy the same attachment point used to mount the Vital aftermarket bash plate. There's more detail about this in my modifications video from a couple of months ago. A friend suggested some kind of inflatable stand, and this seemed a great idea, until I realised that dragging round a bouncy castle looked ridiculous, was attracting children like the Pied Piper of Hamelin, and rendered the bike as unstable when balanced on the castle as Humpty was on his wall. Chris Birch suggests tying the bike to a tree or whatever and yanking it up to balance on the side stand and whichever wheel you don't need to remove. But all my attempts at achieving this resulted in something resembling an out-of-control merry-go-round. I also can't ride like Chris, so, well, hey-ho. And then I had what I'd like to think was an original brainwave, but was in fact an adaptation of something someone once mentioned on a YouTube video. A stick. And in this video, I'd like to share my stick with you, my fellow travellers. First things first though, and in my case, the first thing was to fall off my bike. To achieve the ideal results, you will, like me, need to break at least 2 vertebrae, preferably in the lumbar region, and preferably without paralysing yourself. This will result in the National Health Service, if you live somewhere that has such a wondrous thing, providing you with a pair of crutches. They will do this whoever you are and whatever your circumstances. This marvel of social inclusivity, which has for decades made us the envy of nations across the globe, will continue right up until our current corrupt, self-serving, lie-peddling government here in the UK carries out its less than secret ambition to destroy our National Health Service, trouser the resultant short-term windfall, and leave anyone who can't afford US-style health insurance dying in a ditch, and you and I entirely crutchless. Anyway, for now, these freely supplied crutches will aid your rehabilitation, reintroduce you to some semblance of mobility, and provide a means to get to the beers and the bathroom when, as will happen from time to time for the rest of your days, your back gives out and, once again, you find yourself needing all the help you can get. The kind of crutches I'm on about are the aluminium ones that have a plastic arm cuff and loads of holes into which sprung pins in telescoping tubes jump, safely giving lots of adjustability. I think they're called forearm crutches. The crutch design used by Long John Silver with a leather armpit pad, wooden shaft and optional parrot will not work in this story. My hearties. Anyway, once you've mended your wrecked spine, are reasonably confident that life can continue with just one crutch when you go all lopsided for a week just from tying up a shoelace wrong, and you're back on the bike, you can grab the other crutch, dismantle it, and take up your trusty hacksaw. I don't want to tell you how to chop this lot up, not because I'm horrible, but the component lengths are going to be specific to your bike's height and suspension settings. And frankly, if you can't work out which bits to chop out where, you really shouldn't be doing this anyway. This is because even if you get it right, there's still a reasonable chance you'll end up in a heap with your bike on top of you, possibly having broken even more vertebrae in the process. Do it wrong, and you could entirely avert any future requirement for euthanasia. My crutch, in its original guise, is CE rated to support 170 kilograms or 26 stone. Check the labelling on your crutch for its weight handling rating. In shortening the crutch you may be increasing this capacity, but in any case this trick should work on any middleweight adventure bike like KTM's 790, 890 Adventure Series, or Yam's T7, or a Husky Norden, an Africa Twin, a BMW F800 GS, or any dual sport machine, at least with any luggage removed. I'd even try it with my R1200 GS, but only if sufficiently inebriated before making the attempt. Anyway, once you've created your ideal bike-specific stick, here's what to do. Find the firmest bit of terra firma near to where you've had your puncture and wheel your bike there. If the ground is still too soft, you'll need to either find a firmer spot or locate some flat stones or wood to support your side stand and your stick. Sinking is not an option. Once you're happy with the ground conditions, place the bike on the side stand. If you have to remove the front wheel, put the bike in first gear. Before doing anything else, loosen the pinch bolts and the main spindle nut a little. The spindle nit. Before doing anything else, loosen the pinch bolts and the main spindle nut a little, plus the caliper bolts if you are removing the brake calipers to ease reassembly. Now, holding your stick in your left hand, giggity, stand on the opposite side of the bike to its side stand. Push up and away from you on the right hand handlebar using only your right hand. Gently push with your knee or left hand against the side of the bike, keeping the rear wheel on the ground until the bike comes up to its balance point. This takes a little practice. At first the bike will want to spin on its side stand. It's a technique thing. Soon you'll figure out how to push in a way that keeps the back wheel down and up will come the front. At which point you slip your stick under the bash plate, keeping the stick almost vertical and with the arm cuff at 90 degrees to the leg to spread out the weight. Now gently lower the bike onto it. The bike is supported at 3 points: the rear wheel, locked because it's in gear, the side stand and your magic stick. The front wheel is in the air and can now be easily removed. If you have to remove the rear wheel, you need to lock the front brakes on. A Velcro or otherwise lockable strap that holds the front brake lever permanently against the throttle grip will do this. A rock in front of the front wheel is also advisable. Loosen the axle nut before raising the wheel. Once this is done, the technique is much the same. With practice you'll feel how to get the balance right to ensure that this time it's the rear wheel that comes up. The stick in this case needs to be placed under the swinging arm just forward of the rear wheel. At least it does on the KTM. You'll have to figure out what suits your bike best, and you need to get it properly in balance, because bear in mind you're going to need to remove the chain and get that out of the way, and back wheel's heavy and all the rest of it, so it's going to change the balance of the bike when you take it out. So be confident that it's got a good connection point with these 3 points on the ground before you actually take a wheel out of it. But just go careful and quietly, you'll be alright. Having said that, I would only ever do this if circumstances absolutely demanded it, and it's in no way what I would call bomb-proof safe. But it could get you out of a tricky situation with minimum stress and effort, especially if you regularly practice your technique so that when you need to use it for real, you're confident and relaxed. And on a camping trip, remember the technique can also be used for lubing a chain, checking wheel bearings, and generally looking way cooler and in control of things than you actually are. Well, that's it for the moment, folks. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. Bye!